Hi there, Sandra here from the Schwowin's Nest. Thanks for joining me today. I've got a farmhouse Thanksgiving decor for you today, and if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate your support by clicking that red button. I grabbed this cutting board at a thrift store. I'm always on the lookout when I'm thrifting for solid wood pieces because they're timeless, they're elegant, and you can always do something farmhouse with them. My idea for this is to create a little wood frame on the interior of the cutting board. So I'm using a piece of masking tape as a spacer. Then I'll put another piece of masking tape on top of that, and then I'll continue to do that all the way around the cutting board. For those of you who have been watching my channel, I wanted to let you know that I'm doing a different view today, and you can probably tell you're not looking at it upside down. Let me know in the comments if you like this better. To get some nice square crisp edges, I'm using my craft knife to cut off the excess tape. So the taped part will become the little wood frame. I'm going to use rust-oleum chalked paint in linen white and give this a couple of coats, including the sides. Once a month, Jamie over at Border Bananas hosts Flippin Friday. If you haven't looked at Jamie's channel, you've got to go take a look. She has some wonderful thrifting and hauls, and she does some amazing DIYs. Her link will be down in my description box. Don't you just love a reveal? Check this out. There was a little bit of bleeding, but that's going to get fixed later on, so not a big deal. But look at how cute this little frame looks. Once the frame was dry, I could start doing some embellishments. I've got this buffalo check ribbon from Michaels, and I'm going to just cut strips to go all the way around the outside of the cutting board. Using a bead of hot glue, I'm going to attach the ribbon all the way around the board, making sure to line up the corners. Since my video is part of a challenge, make sure you go down to my description box and click on that playlist link. You're going to see a lot of people making things over that they got at thrift stores or secondhand stores or from a neighbor or a yard sale. You are sure to be inspired by all of the wonderful creations that everyone comes up with. Oh my gosh, would you look at how cute this is? I didn't think it was going to turn out this adorable, but I am in love. What I'm going to do now is put the words "Give Thanks" at the top and "Eat Pie" at the bottom. If you checked out my thumbnail, you know where this is headed. I wanted this to be kind of fun and whimsical with a farmhouse flair, so I think it's going to turn out really cute. I did pre-write these letters on with a pencil, but it's just really difficult to see pencil lines on the white. So I'm just going to start with a regular marker. This was a scrapbook marker that I had laying around, and it still works really well. So you don't always have to use a special marker, just a Sharpie or any type of marker you have. I do love my oil-based pens, but for this project, I wanted to make it a little bit more simple so everyone could do it. When I'm doing freehand lettering, I just go over it once and then I'll go back and thicken up the letters and give them a little bit more character. This is just a little bit of a free-form font. It's not anything that I looked at, but you could find all sorts of different styles of fonts online that you could replicate on your projects. So with the words and "eat pie," I'm going to do a different type of font. I want this to look very whimsical and natural, and most of the signs that you see out in the stores don't have consistent font all the way through. So that's why I want to make it look a little bit more high end and add some different font at the bottom. As I did with the first one, I just did the letters first and then I'm going back and embellishing them a little bit better. So what I do here is on the downward stroke, I make that thicker, and when it's an upward stroke, I leave that thinner. And that's how you get this type of font look. Of course, the sign would not be complete without a pie, so I have this little pie stencil that I actually used my own stencil burner and a picture, and I just burned out the stencil. I'm not going to be using my paint and a makeup sponge today because I want this to be hollow. So I'm just going to use my pencil and trace out the pie shape. So using my camera with this view, you can see what I'm doing better, but unfortunately when I'm writing, because I'm right-handed, you can't really see how I'm doing these pencil lines. So I will probably switch up my view maybe to the other side of me so you can see things a little bit better. This is a little bit of a black and white theme, and that's why I don't want to fill in the pumpkins. I want them to be black and white, look like they've been sort of printed on or stenciled on, but I'm not going to color them in yet. So I'm doing a little bit of a distressing here, but it's not something that I've normally done. I kind of came across this accidentally as I was tracing out the pumpkin and the pie. My hand went over the letters at the bottom and started rubbing some of the black ink across the white. And this actually turned out really pretty because it picked up all of the wood grain from the board. Here's a close-up look of it. It's fairly light, but it looks really pretty. Something else that I've been starting to do with my letters when I freehand them and even when I stencil them, I'm taking a thin marker and just making a shadow line on either the right side or the left side, whichever you choose, it really doesn't matter. But this gives it more, again, of a high-end look and more finished. The letters look more dimensional and it just really makes them look great. Here's a closer look at those lines. So here's how I'm going to fix the little bit of bleeding that happened when I painted. I'm taking the thick part of the marker and just drawing a line right around the white portion, and that's just going to cover up all the bleeding. It also makes the white portion pop out a little bit more, so I really like how this is turning out. To make this look a little bit more rustic and farmhouse, I'm using some coarse grit sandpaper, and I'm just going to sand all around the top edge and bring the wood grain out. The other thing I'm going to do is at the end, I did decide to put a tiny little bit of color in the pumpkin and the pie. So I'm using a honey brown acrylic paint, which is pretty close to the same color as the wood grain. And I'm just going to dry brush some on. So it's just going to be very light and you won't be able to see it too much, but it does give a little bit more dimension to the pie and the pumpkin. I also added a loop of ribbon through the hole on the top of the cutting board in case it needs to get hung up on a wall. I'd like to thank Jamie for hosting the challenge again this month. If you like this kind of content, I'd love for you to stick around a while. Hit that subscribe button. Those two black arrows will tell you exactly where to click. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate you watching. Bye for now.